You guys want to lead me in the lead us in the pledge of allegiance? Anybody want to take it? Come on, I'll do it with you.
Got it.
Start us out. Somebody say, I pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Call our roll. Dr. O'Neill.
Present.
Mrs. Barnes-Griffin.
Present.
Mr. Lowe.
Present.
Mr. Irvin.
Present.
And Mr. Heater is down under. In Australia, I think. Isn't he in Australia?
Somewhere.
He's somewhere. He's south of the equator. We are on to our presentation, Northside Esports. Who's doing the presentation for Northside Esports? Mr. Williams?
Super proud of these wonderful middle school students, these Northside Titans. They are the 2023 Rocket League Indiana State champs. And let me introduce their coach, Mr. Tony Harder.
Thank you. I'm super proud of them. They played so well all season, and we finally got to the championship game, and it was tough, but we finally won after 6 out of 7 games, so they played great. Jasper, Wynn, you guys can just stand up. Graham Bouse, Finn Hampton, Caleb Vanderbilt, Colton Clevenger, Ethan Showalter, Parker Badler, and then Unam Shrestha, who is our support mascot. That sort of kind of grew organically over the season somehow. So these guys did such a great job all year, and I'm super proud of how far they've come. A couple of them were with me last year, and we've grown a lot over the last year. I'm just really proud of how well they played.
So tell us a little bit about esports for those who are with us and who are watching who may not know.
Yeah, esports is like email is electronic mail, esports is electronic sports. They play video games competitively against other middle schools. And I work with the Indiana Esports Network that has schools all over the state of Indiana. They do it at a middle school level and a high school level. So this year they had 2 for middle school, which was Minecraft and then Rocket League. And then Rocket League is the team that these gentlemen are on that took us to the state championship.
So what is Rocket League?
Rocket League is essentially soccer with cars.
Okay.
They play 3v3, 3 players versus 3 players, so they have to learn to work together, help each other out, set each other up, communicate, and they did a really good job.
Well, that's magnificent. Anybody want to tell us about your experience?
Yeah.
Sure.
Thanks, Ethan.
Okay. So
If you're more comfortable with it lower, you can go lower.
Okay. So my experience was fun. I never played in a match, but as Mr. Harder says, I was assistant coach prime.
That's true.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah, and I imagine you know the match.
I imagine.
Yeah.
Finn, we've met somewhere before, haven't we? I think so. Do you like Rocket League? And who are your partners on Rocket League? So did you guys learn to work together when you played? And could you predict what they were going to do in the game? Did they ever make you mad?
so Caleb Vanderbilt was our captain,
Okay.
and he did a really good job communicating. We always set him in the center of the other 2 so that he could coordinate, communicate, and he knows as well as any good captain does, he's only as good as the people working with him. So they all work together, and what I love about it is that over the season, that increased so much. In the beginning, I kept reminding them, guys, kind of talk to each other, keep each other informed. By the end, I was like, go. And they they did most of that all on their own, so it was really nice to see.
So Caleb, how many matches did you have? Okay. And what game platform do you use? A PC, not like, PlayStation or, okay.
Is this the first year we're competing?
This is the third year.
Third year.
Yeah, I started, because there were some computers upstairs in the lab that were using in Mr. Green, and I kind of coordinated me taking some of those to my room, because I figured out they would run Rocket League, so that wouldn't cost anything, and then Rocket League was free, so that's kind of how I got started.
And
You
talk
built a
ab-
dynasty.
yeah.
You
Talk
got a
about your
dynasty.
equipment that you have now.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. As soon as we got started, I put the feelers out, and both Mr. Graham and Mr. Williams were a huge help getting people to come in and trying to get a grant. And over at the end of last year, I was able to get a grant, and we built 7 brand new computers for that team. And the difference, yes, thank you.
Okay.
And gentlemen, the difference between last year and this year, the machines, night and day, right? So, yeah, we really made a huge difference in how well they play.
Okay. And how did you celebrate your win?
Yeah, chicken bacon ranch, that's. Yes, that is the official,
It's pretty good. Is that a Papa John's?
yeah, Papa John, I think it was more down there.
Oh, well.
Getting it.
Okay. I
Okay.
guess chicken bacon ranch is universal. So,
Yeah.
so like what qualifies you as you're playing or disqualifies you? Like, are there certain things that you cannot do, or what are some of the rules?
So it's essentially soccer where they have 5-minute matches. And the team that scores the most goal at the end of that wins the game. They typically will play best out of 5, but the championship that we were in was the best of 7. So that was a little bit longer, a little bit tougher, and a little bit more of a fight that they persevered. It's pretty awesome.
So what school did you prevail over?
It was, Winners, thank you. Ben Davis, yeah. I
Okay.
think it's Ben Davis High School is where they are.
Okay. Fantastic.
We played schools from Bloomington, we played schools in northern Indiana. That's kind of the nice thing about the esports at all, is that they just come into my room. They don't have to, sit on a bus for an hour to go somewhere. They just come in and play over the internet. That's it. It's kind of cool.
So that raises another question then. How many schools in the state of Indiana have an esports program?
The Indiana Esports Network that I work with, there are, I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 high schools and 35 or 40 middle schools. I don't know exactly. Because not all of them play Rocket League. Some of them play, like Minecraft we had. I know they do a Super Smash Brothers as well. There's a ton of schools involved in that.
When I was at your school, you talked about if you won the state championship, you expected a banner. Do we have a banner coming yet, or is that something we have to work on?
I was hoping,
Okay, awesome, very nice.
and I said, leave me room at the bottom because
That's how they recruit.
I know they are getting, send us a trophy sometime this month, they said. So there will be a trophy involved, we can put that in the board side, so it'll be kind of cool.
Good.
So what's the recruitment look like? You just kind of put up signs, or like, I see,
Because there's a fall season and a spring season, so I typically will put the word out second or third week of school. Normally, I will have 75 kids show up that are interested, and I kind of go from there, because when I tell them they can't get in trouble or have Fs and stuff, that sort of cuts things down a little bit, and then I have tryouts, and we go through that, and then I find the students who I think will do well and learn and grow. I'm not necessarily looking for the best of the best, I just want people that will try and try to get better and work together as a big thing.
You see like diverse groups of kids, male, female, different
yes.
race, just all, you see
I
it?
have a couple of students who could not be here tonight. Deasia could not be here. She wanted to be, but she couldn't be. So I'm trying to get as many girls as possible. I had a couple of girls on the Minecraft team. So it's not like when I was a kid, everybody plays video games now. It's not just a guy thing. So that's kind of nice. I'm trying to get as many of them involved as I can.
Good. Good deal. So Finn, do you know a gentleman named Josh Hollowell? Oh, how do you know him? He's your best. So is that Finn and Tycho? Okay. You look familiar, like Mr. Williams said. Thank
Is there
you.
anything you need, Coach?
I want to play.
Colton's mom has done this for us, which is great. But I would like at some point, because I have a long-term strategy, that I want this to kind of be a recognized sport like football, basketball. So jerseys at some point would be great if that works out.
Sure.
That's a possibility. But other than that, I think we're pretty good to go.
Do you want another pizza? Did I hear chicken?
Yeah, we had an end of the season pizza party and
Gentlemen from the Titan Esports team, I'd like to turn around because we have special guests here. These are gentlemen of the Ball State Esports.
So does anybody do you all from the university want to introduce yourselves? Does somebody want to be a spokesperson?
Yeah, so I'm the assistant director for Ball State. My boss is the director with 2 full-time employees. We have about 70 to 80 students that just compete for varsity from all around the country, the world, from Singapore, Canada. Our Rocket League team right there is 3rd in the nation, 3rd in the country.
Wow.
So we're 1 away from national championship in the whole, that's 800 schools. Yeah, we would love to have them come sometime, check out, maybe play against our team.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we'll split up the roster.
Well, maybe we can have a friendly wager with President Mearns. Yeah.
But, esports has been big for me. Ball State alum too, graduated 17. So to see, we also, Ball State in April, we're hosting the esports high school championship for the 2nd year through IHS. So we deal with all the schools all over the state. So it's really cool to see Muncie, engage more into it. We're a full-time program. We fund, we do scholarships. We really take it serious because it's a way to grow the school. We also do the club. We have 900 students in our club that aren't even invested in the varsity. So it's only getting bigger. And esports is a great platform not only for extracurriculars, but just to get students involved in other avenues where they can be involved. So congratulations, and we'd love to work with you guys in the future. So, thank you.
Hey, guys, did you hear the one word came out of his mouth there? Then you reacted to it, I think. Scholarships? Did you hear that? Okay, so,
We'll take it seriously in all 4 years.
yeah.
We see the money involved.
Thank you for coming down, and congratulations to your team. We're very proud of you, and we'll look forward to visiting with you after the spring season, perhaps.
And can we hear where the college students, where their hometowns are?
Yeah, so we have a fan hub in, I don't know why they're
Yeah,
shy.
they don't actually get into college. They're in middle school.
So Evan over there on the right, he's from West Indiana. Luke in the middle, or right there, my dad's from those Yeah. I recruited him from Virginia. They live in Kentucky now.
Okay.
Arlen in the middle, he was from Shelbyville, Indiana. Garrett, he's from Virginia also, so I guess there's 2 Virginia Indians. But we have people, like I said, from Singapore. I have folks from Canada. We're partnered with Genji in South Korea, so we have 10 students in South Korea. We have a lot of partnerships with our team. It's getting to the point where we're sponsored by Pepsi. We're also sponsored by All Better Racing. So month of May, we get to go through things with that.
Wonderful.
A lot of cool collaborations, but
Mhm.
I think we have 20 state represented in our program and 6 countries.
Wonderful.
How
Well,
many
thank you.
hours like do you all like practice, like either middle school or collegiate? Like what's the rigor in the practice like? How many hours a week are you practice at home? Okay. Okay. Then collegiate, like how many, like what's that practice
I
like?
think it depends. So we have, okay, so O's in the class, he's a professional, so he also gets paid to play the game. So he's doing professional, he's balancing professional and college, so he's probably playing, I don't know, 5 to 6 hours a day on top of college. But he's getting paid to play the game and he's on scholarship, so it balances itself out, so it just depends. I would say other guys are
It's a
probably playing 3
different
or 4 hours
world,
a day.
isn't it?
And I'd say on average, probably about 12 to 16 hours a week. Just depends. But some weeks are less than others, some weeks are more busy. Sometimes we travel for a lot of events on the weekends, so we go to Texas a few times, Georgia, so it just varies. I'd say about 12 to 15 hours on average for all of us.
I have a question. Is there a way to be a spectator? How would I like to see this?
Yeah, so we usually do broadcast 2 to 3 times a week in-house, but we also produce them on our Twitch channel. So Twitch is the platform that does all the streaming for gaming. So twitch.tv and then /Ball State University. It's usually on Tuesday and Wednesdays. In the fall was Rocket League on Wednesdays, but we also put 30 seats in the facility where people can come watch in person live also. So it just depends, but usually Tuesday and Wednesday, we switch the games up from fall to spring. So fall is our Rocket League and Valorant, which is another title. Spring is Overwatch and League of Legends, which both give both titles their fair share of exposure.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you, Coach, for coming down this evening.
Yes,
Um,
thank you.
Thank you for coming over from the university and supporting our team. We very much appreciate it. And
Can we get some pictures real quick?
absolutely.
Oh, yeah. We would
No,
love
please
that.
do.
Yeah.
Please do.
I hate to say that.
No, please do. Andy, do you want to get them set up?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We're gonna share it on the side.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yes, please do.
Your guys in the back and our guys in front.
Yeah, we can do whatever you want. Here's some of our stuff too.
Can we do this in front of coach? Oh, I thought you were gonna be in it too.
Oh,
At the end.
Oh, yeah.
So we gotta do 2 rows, guys, they're way too wide, so somebody, put her in that, and just move a little bit, and really come on this one,
And maybe you could have a few get in the front. Do you need that, Andy, or is that good?
You got on the front end like you know each other a little better. All right.
There you go.
Everybody here on 1, 2, 3. Do one more. 1, 2, 3. And change phones. Go up. That's one of us, I hope. All right. One more. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, we got practice to go to, so I appreciate it.
Yes, no. Wish I had practice to go to.
Thank you.
Thank you, too. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's pay it off.
It's fair. It can get you a job and scholarship.
So do we have anything else from our side?
No. that
No
was it
additional?
tonight.
Okay. We are on to our CEO update from Dr. Kwiatkowski.
Well, I think that is just another great example of the partnership between Muncie Community Schools and Ball State University. We find great ways to be able to connect our students and Ball State, and I can just see so many new opportunities that will take place because of this meeting tonight, so that's fabulous. I wanted to remind everybody it's that time of year. We moved to 3 built-in snow days on our calendar. If we call off school due to weather, it will be a true old-fashioned snow day. Those will be days off for teachers. So we built in 3 days into our calendar, and those will be days off for teachers and students if we don't need to use those. And again, those are in April 12th, 26th, and May 10th. And so people always wanted a snow day, and we'll see if they get one or not. We received a grant from the state of Indiana to cover the cost of pre-K for our employees. So this is a great way of being able to give back to our staff, and that will begin next year. So more to come as we get into more information. We also received a grant to work in collaboration with the courts to address chronic absenteeism. So we're excited to get that moving in a proactive way. Westview's renovation is done. I was there yesterday. Classrooms look great. Teachers, I have to give them so much credit. Many of them came in over break to get their classrooms ready to go, but they were excited, and students were excited also. So we'll have a formal kickoff and a ceremony later, I think early February. That's being worked out. And then finally, I just wanted to remind everyone that the MLK Youth Citizenship Awards take place on Saturday at Central's Auditorium, beginning at 10 o'clock. I know Rhonda has worked hard with organizing the events, and also the MLK Junior Community Breakfast is Monday at Ball State Student Center, beginning at 9 o'clock. So happy 2024 to everybody. We're glad to be back.
The program Saturday is at 10.
Saturday at 10 at Central, and then 9 o'clock on Monday, and that's at Ball State University's Student Center.
Up at the Student Center, correct.
Is that absenteeism funding, was that the like 75,000? Is that what?
Yes, so that was actually a grant that came from the state out of their justice system.
ICJI? Or?
Yes, and so Judge Dowling shared with us about that opportunity, and we met with her, and she pointed us to some promising practices that were happening, and so we modeled it off of, it was Porter County. I think Porter County Schools has a program where it's like a hearing officer, won't be employed by the courts, but it's in collaboration with the courts. And our student assistance coordinators and our principals will alert this hearing officer to families who have students who are struggling to come to school regularly. And they'll come in for a meeting and create an action plan. So we'll find out what the barriers might be and figure out ways that we can improve attendance. So just another layer of trying to help our families make sure we improve our attendance. And so we're in early stages. Jim is going to help us with some recruiting and figuring out the right people to serve in that role. But we're excited that we were approved and we can move forward with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we did something on a much smaller scale 25 years ago when I was serving in a judicial role in conjunction with other disciplinary matters. Absenteeism was also part of it. Of course, by any measure, the issue of students not getting to school on a regular basis has grown nationwide since 2 decades ago. So we're cautiously optimistic that this will provide another tool for us to perhaps get some people's attention and get students to school. So,
Good stuff.
anything else?
That's it.
Any questions for Dr. K? Okay, we'll move to the consent agenda. We have our minutes from the prior meeting, personnel, donations, a couple other issues. I do want to take a moment and recognize our donors. We have such generous individuals and businesses in our community who again were generous during the holiday season with our Christmas projects at the pantry and otherwise. Also want to recognize specifically Maxwell Barber Shop on a very generous donation for the backpack program during the Christmas season. So thank you to all of our donors who are with us 12 months a year. With that, any questions concerning any of the other items in the consent agenda? Do we have any of our new hires here this evening? Riley Foster? Megan Myers? Megan, help me with your last, the hyphen,
Yeah,
yes,
said it.
Slosima. Slopsima. I was making the P silent. So what's the origin of Slopsima? What part of the world does that originate from? Dutch, okay. Well, welcome to Muncie Community Schools and repeat customer. Okay. Okay. Well, welcome to Longfellow. And are you just starting here within the past couple days or day two? Well, you're with us tonight, so we appreciate it. Welcome. Do you have anything you wish to say or talk? Okay. Well, we are delighted to have you, and I will not butcher your name again. So, okay. Okay. Zachary Palmer, is Zachary here? Okay. So with that, motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Oh. Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. We have our financial report. Mr. Jerome.
Thank you. In your board packet tonight, we have the 12 months of actual results, the financial report for 2023 as of December. And I'm always happy to report we received our state basic grant in the month of December. For the whole year, it was $44.3 million. That was up almost $2 million compared to the previous year on the state basic grant. So that's certainly a positive to report on. And that's due to the slight increase in enrollment, but also the increase in funding from the state of Indiana on the school funding formula. So always good to report that. I've just listed, we had total for the whole year, we had a little over $33 million in payroll. That was up slightly from the year before just due to the head count as well as payroll increases. We paid our long-term debts in the month of December. A little over $6 million was paid, a little over $12 million for the whole year. So that's always good to report. And also paying those long-term debts also included the final payment for the 2014 GO bonds. So those were paid off in December. And that final payment was a little over $3.5 million. And our total checkbook balance of the total all funds, almost $33 million, $32.9 million. You flash back 5 years ago, December of 2018, it was almost a little over $11 million is what we had. So it's grown significantly in the last 5 years. Also reporting a positive balance was the ending education fund balance, and that was a little over $15.3 million. We did finish in a surplus position in the education fund for the year. We were able to, we followed the amortization schedule on paying back the state loan. That's down to $9.9 million. And also our rainy day fund, a little over $7.7 million. Also 5 years ago, that was just barely over $600,000. So over 5 years, that's grown almost $8 million as well. We did receive our property taxes, the final installment in December. For the whole year, we received $11.8 million of local property taxes. That was right tracking exactly how it's been going. The previous 5 years, we received 52% of the local levy. So that pretty much went as we expected. You had your summary of funds reports, which is almost everything I said. We have some beautiful charts and graphs there. The main thing to take away there, that's your trend that you're looking at of the ending cash balance, and you can see it keeps growing. That's over 5 years. And what you see going down is the state loan. That's kind of in the red there at the bottom. So the trend is up on the cash balance. The trend, obviously, we're following the payments on the state or the state loan. That's the next graph was just showing the actual cash balance at the end of December 31st. That's slide number 6. And once again, it just shows the trend on how that's continued to grow over the last 5 years. So that's just a positive to take away from this. We're showing that the trend is up. Slide 7 is just showing also the education fund balance, how that continues to be just a little over 15 million. Obviously, 5 years ago, that was like a minus 4 million just 5 years ago. The cash flow, the next slide, that just shows just a slight surplus position of a little over 150,000 cash flow wise in 2023, but you also need to remember, I also transferred out of that over $2 million, so that could have been a lot higher, but I transferred $2 million out of that education fund and put it in rainy day. We stayed within all our state appropriation limits and caps, so that we were certainly not over budget on anything. And the remaining slides are just showing different ways to break down the cash flow, different ways to break down the spending, and you certainly have those at your fingertips as well. So the big takeaway there, and we'll get into some more little detail perhaps when we do our Board of Finance meeting a little bit later. I know that's always exciting for everyone, the Board of Finance meeting, but we've had a very positive year, and we're showing a positive trend on the increase of cash and just the overall stability and the trend we've been able to show for Muncie schools.
What's the balance in the rainy day fund after that deposit?
It's almost 7.7 million at the end of December.
Do you have any concerns?
It's just the ongoing concern is always the operation fund going forward. We are blessed. You know, our budget was approved like we had expected at almost $2 million higher than the year before. So that's a good thing to have more appropriations available in operation. The tax cap still remains what it is as we continue to talk about the operation fund. And as we get here in a little bit, we'll talk about the property and casualty insurance. It's a big hit on operation fund. So the operation fund, that always remains the significant, where our, we take a look at that pretty closely, just because there's so much pressure on that. That's where you get hit with the tax cap is operation fund, because you have to pay your debts in the debt service fund. Going forward in 2024, our debts are not quite as high as they were in 2023. That's because we had those significant balloon payments on those bonds. So not quite as high on the appropriations for debt service. So that allows us to be a little bit higher on our spending for operation fund.
Quick question. On slide 6, you compare our fund cash balances all the way back to 2011.
Yeah.
How far back do you have to go to see a fund cash balance this time of the year? This amount.
Yeah,
I mean, that's big.
yeah, that's a pretty big increase, because that's your total fund cash. And some of those balances, obviously, I took off of just going back researching off of prior Form 9s at the end of the Form 9 report at the end of December of each year. I'm sure it would be a number of years, because that's just trying to show you, obviously, the context of where we were and where we have gone. So that's really what the fiscal health indicator is. And the information that's out there on the state website references the fiscal health indicators for Muncie schools as of December of 22. It's always a year behind, but they always want you to focus on, well, how are you trending? Are you trending up? Is your cash surplus still in a surplus position? So we can check the boxes on all those things and say, yes, we're trending the right direction. Yes, we're aware of the operation fund pressure. So as a board, And certainly as a business manager, I'm very pleased to show those trends going the correct direction there. That's really what we want to have happen.
Just give us plenty of warning if there's
Yeah.
the pressures on the operation fund become untenable, or look to become untenable without
Sure.
some significant mitigating work by the board and otherwise. Obviously, that's an area that continues to bedevil corporations around the state, similarly situated to Muncie. I just don't know at what point there would be any relief coming from the State House on this. But we'll see. It's
Yeah,
not
we
gonna be
have
this
been
quick.
very fortunate that we were able over the last 5 years to put as much money as we could into rainy day. That has really helped us, certainly as we started having more pressure in the operation fund the last really 2 years, so.
Yeah, obviously, I'm one board member, but I don't want to raid that to the point where we get back to where we were.
Right.
And don't have a rainy day fund to call on at
Right.
some point. So it's going to be a balancing act for Muncie and other corporations with the cap impact, unless, obviously, this is not a budget session for the legislature.
Right.
So,
We're already having conversations though, because we know next year will be a budget year and they already have their bills are working through, but they're already starting to think about what they want to do the following year. And so we continue having those conversations. I'm meeting with some other superintendents who are in similar positions. I'm meeting with one superintendent who they received $0 in their operations fund this year. So haven't had that meeting yet because you have to pay debt service first. So if they have a lot of debt, then they had no money to put in operations. So I'll be anxious to have conversations with her to, like Brad says, how do they pay their utility bills? It'll be interesting to have those conversations. But, there are other districts. Our operations fund has many school superintendents and business managers concerned, and we'll continue trying to find some relief.
we have a sense statewide of the number of students who are served by school corporations who are impacted in a similar way.
We received the list, Brad's, the Baker
Yeah.
Tilly gave us like the list of
The top
like the
10s,
top
yeah.
10. We could add up those numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I just think from the standpoint of perspective, it would be interesting to see how many students statewide are served by these corporations. And it's going to be a significant number still that are impacted in such a dramatic way by this structure.
On equity across the state, that's just really a big topic because when you have some who are significantly impacted and others who aren't, you can do many different things for your school district.
Thank you, Mr. Durham. Any additional questions for Brad?
You asked them.
Okay. Would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. Thank you, Mr. Durham, for your continued good work on this.
Thank you.
Education to Operations Fund transfers, as if on cue.
Thank you. This is the annual time of year in either December or January. I like to bring it in front of the school board. This gives us permission to transfer up to 15% of the total education fund revenue into the operation fund. Now, just to give you a sense of perspective, the year that just ended, we transferred only 14% of the education fund total revenue into the operation fund, and that was $6.5 million. So we are just asking for that blanket approval up to 15%. The reason it's 15% is because that's all we're allowed to. We can transfer more, but if you do, then you have to submit a compliance plan and be on the naughty list with the state. I don't want to do that. So I prefer to stay below 15%. That's what we always do. So that's certainly, it's an allowable transfer. The reason that was put in place was because 5 years ago, when the state of Indiana switched off of the general fund and they eliminated capital project fund, some of those expenses they knew that used to come from the state basic grant were going into those other funds, and now they've consolidated funds. They created this permission to transfer. So always before, you could not transfer money like that in different buckets. So we're staying within statute. I'm just asking permission to make this transfer. I do it each month. So that's what you have in front of you.
Mr. Jerome has presented the action item, motion to approve the transfers up to 15% on an annual basis from the educations to the operation fund. If there are no questions, we'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Been moved. Second?
Second.
Here a second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Early literacy stipend.
Dr. Bell.
Good evening.
Dr. Bell.
Good evening, President Williams, board members, Dr. Kwiatkowski. I am here tonight to ask that you accept our early literacy achievement grant for the policy for 2024. It is the Indiana Department of Education has established the early literacy achievement grant through the House Enrolled Act of 1001-2023. And it's an opportunity to reward schools for improving our students' foundational reading skills as evidenced by iRead data. And so the state gives us a certain percentage of funds, and then we have broken the distribution down into a tier 1 and a tier 2 process. Tier 1 will be our certified teachers, including the master teachers, interventionists, resource teachers, full-time SLP, special ed teachers that work with students up through grade 3 and that are delivering literacy and reading instruction and a part of that implementation up through grade 3. And then for tier 2, we're looking at our instructional assistants and our preschool lead teachers to have a percentage of a stipend as well.
Okay. Any questions for Dr. Bell?
This is in place of value, it just sits the template in place, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Similar to the TAG grant, we will use the evaluation rubric to assign those stipend amounts.
And this is a separate pool of money that's being allocated to the state-owned literacy, correct?
Yes. And it will be distributed by April. That's the deadline that IDOE has given us. And of course, I worked with Mr. Jerome and our central office administrators to come up with the tier 1 and tier 2 levels and that for that distribution. And we're working through our list of staff that qualify.
Okay. Any additional questions?
What's the measurement on the student side? I mean, I know what the criteria are for the educators. What are they? What are we looking? What is their goal? To get them reading at 3rd grade level? Yes. So it's looking at kindergarten through 3rd, and in our case, we're looking at pre-K through 3rd, and how those teacher certified, preschool interventionists are working with students through literacy to help get them where we want them to be in reading and literacy.
With Tasha, at the state level, they came up with a formula to determine the allocations for school districts. And so they were looking at not really pass rates for iRead 3, but growth. And what they found was in Muncie, while we may not have hit that level yet, we are showing good growth. And so we actually received more funds than many of our similar school districts, which is positive for us. We're growing kids, moving them in the right way. And that's why we were able to include our instructional assistants. Most districts are not including instructional assistants, but since we really received $107,000 for just pre-K through grade 3, we're able to, our teachers will receive, and assistants will receive a nice stipend amount. And we'll share that with you once we get that final list determined and do the calculations.
That's good news. So that that allocation of funds was higher, and it was based on what they're seeing in terms, what the state is seeing in terms of growth of our students.
Yeah, growth, and then they also put in like a poverty factor. So school districts that have more poverty would receive a little bit more funding as well.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear about the growth. Any additional questions? Dr. Bell, thank you for putting this together. Would entertain a motion to approve. Been moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So this is probably a nice time to have a brief segue into the posters that now line the boardroom. And those are all new to us. I received my copy, I think sometime in December. And I just think they're remarkable, and they are both students and people in the community and board members urging or making the love of reading contagious, I guess. And I just get such a nice feeling seeing all our students over here who have just such great posters. And Mr. Klotz, you worked on getting those done, I believe, and so thank you very much for the work that you did, and to others who were involved, and to President Mearns for agreeing to be in one of them, and all of our students. Do we have others out in our schools?
We're in the process of getting them out, and we're going to be doing a big literacy campaign. We wanted to get these up since we have a new configuration in here, but all of that is coming. Our literacy campaign will be more than just the posters. We'll have many other things to add.
Jim Long, you see the mayor of Southview up there? Remember the mayor of Southview?
Yeah, yeah.
There he is.
And I was going to ask, is Joey our singer?
He's our singer. Don't you just love that?
He was Entertainment Plus. That's Joey.
And he'll be entertainment every board meeting.
You're right, I forgot that's the mayor of Southview.
So I had the privilege of Ezra Fuller attended an event at Civic Theater with our law firm, and he was with the new provost at Ball State, and I believe it was right there at about that time that Ezra received notice that he'd been admitted to Pomona College out in California, which is a highly selective undergraduate institution. So he's certainly a worthy representative. So thank you all for that work. I've enjoyed them. Now on to the much less pleasant.
Thank you.
Almost
Yes, I know.
painful.
I know.
Property and casualty premium,
Yeah, it was,
which strikes me as obscene.
yes, on the front page of today's Wall Street Journal also had an article about the major increases across the country with property and casualty insurance carriers and auto and home. And boy, this has really hit us. And this is what you have in front of you is what we are having to renew as our property and casualty coverage for this upcoming year. And yes, it does show an increase of $321,000 just for property and casualty. As I go ahead and I mention that, we are working on a plan B, which is to try to at least, we had a carrier that wanted to perhaps make a quote, but they wanted to come inspect some of our facilities. So that is still ongoing with our insurance agency to see if we can put that in place. Obviously, if we would do that, then that's why we're only going to be paying some of these bills on a monthly basis or quarterly basis. Normally, in the past, we would pay these property and casualty insurance bills. You'd pay them all in January. That's the way they did it. So what I'm asking the school board tonight is to approve this. I had to sign the binder in December, knowing that we had to do this at our January meeting. We'll come back in probably February meeting for the cyber insurance as workers' comp. But what I'm asking you now is to approve, as unpleasant as it is, and you see the detail behind it, how it's all broken down on the prices and the coverage. But I'm asking you to approve this motion to make this renewal, knowing that we do have to have coverage and we do have to have insurance. So I'm asking the board permission to approve this, knowing that we'll still be working to try to get a better deal. So if I can get a better deal, we'll bring that back to the board.
Property, that's up, but what is the general liability? What's the review now?
Yeah, between those first two lines there on the detail, property was up significantly and so was general liability. That's just liability for potential lawsuits you may have for if someone has an injury or a problem on your facilities. And that's a combination of many things. Obviously, the general market, insurance companies right now are significantly impacted, they tell me, from Florida, Hawaii, wildfires. There's only so many carriers in the game, unfortunately. And also they take a look at our past history and loss items we've had. Even though we were significantly reimbursed from the tornado damage we had back in 2017 and at the field house, that still is there. And that as a loss, potential loss we've had in the past.
Now
So that's still there.
We're reimbursing them.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they get it.
I'm not joking.
Yeah, they reimburse us and now we're reimbursing as a loss. So when you described this as painful, you were correct. And they had been, the agents had been kind of previewing some of this with me over the last 4 or 5 months, just saying they were seeing the market just not go well. The market was just not going well with various carriers. And like I said, if you do get the Wall Street Journal at your fingertips,
Yeah.
today it was right on the front page about what's happening in the marketplace and it's impacting all over the country.
So,
And how much of,
oh, good.
how much of our value of property has increased? By what percentage? 20%, 30%?
Well, just, and that's just it. Our square footage has really not significantly gone up at all. I mean, any of these renovations we have done, it's been, the only square footage we increased was just slight number of square footage at Westview. It's not because of Westview that square footage is basically the same.
And if they treat this value of property much like they do your home,
Right,
God forbid I ever have to replace my home. So
right.
it's significant above the value of the actual property
Right.
itself. So maybe that's part of the answer is the cost to rebuild is.
Well, and they've tried very hard, our agents, Brent Webster and Mark Gary, to not have overinflated values of our property, just to have a potential replacement value, but yet not, inflation has run rampant the last, 2 or 3 years, and that has played a part too. But this was a significant increase. I knew it was going to be an increase. I had no idea it would be this much. For a school district, there's only so many options we have. As I've talked about it with Dr. K, internally, there's potential things potentially we might be able to explore with some co-ops that are in for the school district market, but there's only so many other carriers you can get quotes from.
So, for instance, on the property insurance, what is our deductible?
That is still the same. We have
I didn't see it in there.
oh, I'm sorry. That's still about, get that confused in my head. I think that's still at, I think that was 50,000 on
Yeah, my question.
certain
would be-
loss, right,
Yeah, I mean, if you self-insured against,
yeah,
$500,000,
sure.
what
sure.
does that drive your premium down to, and what are the risks?
Right,
Or 250,000, and so we have Elgin insured,
yes, right,
which
Right, we do.
is used by the group Crossings.
right.
And SSC. Oh, not, well,
S-
some of
S-
SSC. and
SSC,
Auxilio.
Auxilio.
Okay, so we've got some stuff
Upper-
there.
So yeah, we still have, it's not an abandoned building by any means. And yeah, it still has to be insured, they tell us, so.
So I'm just curious if we've ever looked at and what would be the risk factor on self-insuring at a certain
Yeah.
level. You know, if we self-insure to $300,000.
Yeah.
And the premium went down to 333.
Sure.
I mean, we're effectively taking a risk on something
Right.
where the premiums increased $322,000. So
Yeah.
if you self-insure to 300, what does that do to the premium? And I don't
Sure.
know if we cut it to that or not.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that. As an example, like I remember the tornado damage, we had that $50,000 deductible.
Right.
So,
If we had to pay out $300,000, would that come from the rainy day fund?
yeah, that possibly, or.
Yeah, well, I mean,
mean,
if we're,
yeah,
where we're paying the premium from
Right.
now,
Right.
It's got
on
a
it.
payback to it, we know where the
yeah,
money.
we know where the money comes
We
from.
basically pay this out of operation fund is where we normally pay that. The operation fund pays the expenses for this. So,
Yeah, I just don't know if it's sustainable for, an increase of this magnitude
right.
to occur and then to carry forward.
Right, it's not sustainable. I mean, this is something that will make us look at every possible option. We can't just keep sitting back and taking an increase like that. I mean, that's pretty astronomical.
If I can, you may or may not know the answer to this, but I'm curious, you kind of mentioned at the top of this about being affected by Florida and Hawaii and wildfires and different things. And I generally understand how insurance works a little bit, it's basically all about risk and all that. I get that, but where does the legislature / the laws come into effect in terms of kind of regulating, that's not a dirty word, of how this works? Not to be silly, but I mean,
Sure.
most of the insurance guys that I know are doing pretty well. My son being one of them. They seem to be eating well, and it's all good. We want them to do that. But who decides, okay, we have losses, and so since we lost, hey, you come and give us our money back?
Well, that would be the underwriters. The underwriters from the various carriers that our agent goes out and tries to solicit business with, they're the ones who drive this. They're strictly looking at potential losses and your history of losses and trying to project going forward. So that's on the surface. That's my answer there. As far as state regulation or state oversight on this, like you said, there could be a lot of school districts that are getting these surprises whenever they renew.
I met with
I know that's what you're hearing.
Delaware County superintendents on Friday, and this was one of the topics that they all were talking about, and all their boards were concerned with the amount of increases they were seeing too. And like Brad said, not to be a Debbie Downer here, but we still have workers' comp that will be
Cyber.
in cyber that will be getting quotes. And so we anticipate there's going to be an increase in those as well.
Cyber will probably go up significantly.
The notion that the underwriters take a hard-headed look at this, I mean, I'm counting as skeptical.
Right.
Because, I mean, when you look at general liability, for instance, general liability, the school corporation has the protection of the Tort Claims Act, which caps and limits damages.
Sure.
Also creates strict contributory negligence, which is a significant hurdle to overcome for anybody suing a political actor of the state. And then to have that go up by a factor of
Double.
5
Right.
is just not under any scenario is that a reasonable calculation given our loss history, and also given the existence of the Tort Claims Act. So I mean, I think we should look at the possibility of insuring at some level, self-insuring against some of this, but we don't want to do it precipitously.
Right.
And you have to also measure it against the premium cut that is on the other end. And they understand that, they're not going to give you a dollar for dollar cut on your premium with the self-insurance. And then the property, did we have any major losses last year?
Not on property. I mean, no, not on property. And we didn't, like I said, we didn't add square footage. I mean, we have certainly made some improvements to our property when you look at the football stadium or track, but that's not significant for
When
this.
did you last year of a football field burning up? It's just not that common.
Right.
So, I don't know. It just strikes me to go from $160,000 a year on a property insurance premium to $365. That's a lot of money. By any measure.
Brad also mentioned there's those co-ops, but they have other districts have to vote for someone to get in. So that's only done like on a yearly basis.
Right.
So that will be something Brad will also explore for next year. But I mean, this year we just have to get bids from different vendors, which is limited.
So do we have any alternative at this point to this number? And if we approve it, which I presume we have to, is there any modification of it in the coming months if we find that there's other alternatives?
If we do have some alternatives from what the agents have told me, then we'll bring it back for the board to consider it. As I sit here tonight, I don't have any other alternative than what I have in front of you, because they went out to the marketplace and this was the best that they could do.
But we have one other group that's going to come in
I
and
do.
visit our sites.
Right.
But we don't know what that will be until we see
I
it.
do not have a plan yet on that. That's just what they had told me right there before the new year.
I'm extraordinarily pleased to see that by selling the MCS canoe, that our inland marine coverage went from 1956 down to $250.
I know we have to approve this, but it would be nice to know whenever you get time, Brad, what
Yep.
they had last year in the way of value placed on property.
Sure.
versus now, so then we know
Right.
how much it's actually.
Right.
I don't find it in here.
Yeah.
You got to have the addresses, but not.
I think what you're asking for is what they tell me is called the statement of values, and that's the list.
And that would be
Right.
probably replacement value.
Right.
And how does that compare to what the county assesses our value at? What they,
It's much different.
yeah,
If you look
Yeah,
at what
right.
you're assessed in your
Right.
home property.
Right.
It's like here, I just went through this. And my replacement value is that they're gonna, you've gotta be out of your, no, there's no way. Well, they're all doing it. They use a replacement value in Muncie, Indiana, to rebuild things. And the difference is significant. It's like 3 times.
Yeah.
It's, go look at your last statement.
Well,
And you go, wait
and
a
I-
minute.
and I
I
would
can
s-
only sell my house for this, but it's gonna cost me this to replace it. It's just significant.
and I would
They're
say,
doing the same thing.
yeah, I mean, I would say the assessed value measure 20 years ago was not even in the ballpark.
Yeah.
But the assessors have actually made an effort to assess our properties in a
Right.
good faith way.
And that is not used at all when you go through and try to get your insurance for your home. It's a replacement value based on some metric they use, and they're all using the same metric within a percentage. It's all, it's system. It's almost a rounding error.
It is.
And if I'm going, wow, I can't afford to rebuild my house.
Much higher even than appraised value.
Yeah, much higher.
So basically what they're doing is they're just taking a multiplier times
Yes.
assessed value.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I suspect that's what
Well, it would be nice to see it. I would like to see.
Yeah. And that's just, I don't get the general liability. Because it's like 9 as much.
I'm just saying that, basically I'm echoing what Jim said. The property difference doesn't make any sense. We haven't had any significant loss, then it doesn't, or any significant increase in
No.
square footage that we have overall. It doesn't make any sense.
So I'm assuming the Wall Street Journal article today touched upon all these companies hedging against catastrophic loss.
Oh, yeah, and it
as a
listed,
result of.
it listed their big charts and graphs of the billions of dollars, which I think was 120 billion collectively as losses they've had in the previous year. I mean, for the whole industry as a whole, so they're trying to get it back
Okay.
on homeowners and commercial.
Change too.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I figure, it's just they're all hedging against the climate issue. Okay, well,
It's that darn boiler house on Walnut. I didn't know that it was its own entity. I did not know that until.
Yeah, it has
That
its
boiler
own,
house.
yes. The boiler house has its own little item there, yes.
yeah, I'd rather hear about the esports team. So, okay. With that,
You need approval.
Yeah,
I need a motion.
Motion to.
Do I hear a second?
Roll call.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Revised and retired policy updates. Who's helping me today on that?
I can help you on that. This is the last month, right? We have worked through all of the policies. And again, these are with the help of our attorneys who looked at what we're responsible for, what they believed we should have. These have, nothing significant, just making, getting it with Church, Hiddle, and Antrim's numbering system and updating them with current statute.
Okay. Any questions regarding the policy changes, revisions, retirements? Would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
We'll count Latasha as the motion, Mr. Irvin, Mark as the second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you.
And if I might, I just really want to give Cindy, she's read through these thoroughly and she's researched and she's done a great job with
Thank you, Cindy.
helping with this process.
Are we doing, where necessary, I presume we're doing some education and training and distribution?
Yes, always. That's ongoing, yes.
The policies aren't just going in a binder and on a shelf.
Mm-mm.
We are on to our Board of Finance. So do we adjourn our regular meeting, or do we have to? I don't know. We can run two meetings. Just
Open the Board of Finance.
Okay. So we need to open the Board of Finance meeting. And we are looking for the appointment of a president and a secretary.
That is correct.
I have a desire that Latasha be president
For 5 minutes.
of the Board of Finance. Does anybody wish to be secretary?
I think Mark does.
Oh, that's
I
good.
saw him over there.
Yeah, he was smiling.
We will have Mr. Irvin. So that would be my motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. President Barnes Griffin, if you'll call the annual meeting of the Board of Finance to order, I'll turn the gavel over. Wait.
Do you ever use it? We want to call to order our annual meeting in finance.
Okay, thank you.
Have it away, Brad.
Okay, I would like to now present the information from the Board of Finance to the school board. And we do this annually on the first meeting in January each year. I'm very pleased to report our earned interest income this year, $745,000. That is the highest we've ever had here in my 5 years here at Muncie. That is tremendous. I know if Dave Heater was here, he'd be asking, how do we do this? Well, we do it because a combination of a couple things. Interest rates went up. Our bank accounts had more money in them, and it provided a lot more interest for us. The majority of that goes back into the operation fund, so that really helps in our operation fund. So that's almost as much as the increase in our property and casualty that we had to eat a moment ago.
No, wait, I want to hear that again.
No.
You have 745,000 in interest?
Earned interest in
Earned
2023.
interest, and that increased about 300 and some odd thousand.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
there you go.
Well-
So that's a quirk.
I feel better now.
Oh, no, I knew you would. I'm also happy to report your overall cash balances. I had mentioned earlier with some of our previous charts and graphs, we're almost $33 million at $32.9 million, and that had continued the trend of being higher over the last 5 years. It was down slightly compared to the year before, but that's just the way we had been spending out money on some of those bond funds, of course, that we have spent the money and retired debt and so forth. So moving on to education fund balance, you see where that's gone over the last 6 or 7 years, over 15.3 million at the end of December of 2023. And obviously at one time, December of 2017, it was a minus $9 million, and it was minus $4 million and December 31st of 2018. Long-term debt, what I wanted to report on to you, our overall long-term debt as of December 31st, 2023, was just a little over 26.2 million after we paid all of the debt payments. Because sometimes when you make these debt payments, sometimes those are significant interest payments as well. So it's not always going against the principal. But if you're asking, well, where has that gone over the last 5 years? In 2018, our overall long-term debt was 38.5 million. So we have reduced our long-term debt in 5 years over $12 million. It has reduced. Even though we have done, obviously, a couple bond projects in the last 2 years, and some of those projects were $5.8 million or $6 million projects, because we have tried to pay those off very quickly, our overall debt has still gone down.
So let me walk back through that.
Mm-hmm.
2018, our long-term debt was 38.5 million.
That is correct.
And our long-term debt on 12/31/23 was 26 million?
26.2.
26.2, so we've decreased 12.3 million.
That's correct.
So that's well done.
And that's, obviously, we've been able to meet the payments, pay the bills. That's coming out of the debt service fund, and those are certainly taxpayer supported. And our overall tax rate, as we had explained to the school board, even when we had prepared our budget this last July, and then when we got ready to talk about those new bonds, our tax rate was still $1.20. So our overall tax rate has still stayed the same for the 2024 year. So that's, I'm happy to report that as well.
Couple that with 2017, we were 9 million in the hole, and now we're 33 million.
Well,
Remarkable.
yeah, in the general fund, or now it's called the education fund, yeah, you were 9 million in the negative. So that's certainly a positive trend on your long-term debt. So we've been able to do some things, and obviously the ESSER funds, spending the 34 million on ESSER funds had nothing to do with long-term debt, because those were grants and funds from the federal government. So we have been able to do a lot with ESSER funds, as well as our long-term debt spending, as well as, if you remember, in 2019, we were able to actually spend the money that we were supposed to for those 2014 GO bonds to do all that heating and cooling work in 5 different buildings that one particular summer. So we have done a lot in our buildings since then over those last 5 years. So that has been, that's been a good thing, that we've been able to meet our obligations, pay our long-term debt, and still create some positive cash flow along the way.
So I just really like to give a shout out to SSC. When you think about over the last 5 years, what we've done with the heating and cooling projects in the summer, with building renovations, I mean, that's put an additional stress on their normal type of duties, and they just have always been positive and optimistic and said whatever we can do to support this. And so we've appreciated that partnership with them. And really, Paul Dittmeyer, I have to give him a shout out. He is wonderful to work with.
Yeah, Paul Dittmeyer and Jenny Locke with SSC have direct their staff very, very well. Last couple of things to mention, the rainy day fund balance, you can see the trend on that. We finished a little over 7.7 million. It's certainly up over 7 million over 5 years. You can see where that's gone up and down. Obviously, this last year, we did use the rainy day fund to help us support in the operation fund. At this particular time, I don't have any report to you on any 2-year-old outstanding checks. I'll have that for you perhaps in a later meeting. Also, the report about the fiscal health indicators, that's on the state website. So I don't have any new information for you on the fiscal health indicators. When you do go out and find the fiscal health indicators, it's the 2022 data. It doesn't have 2023 data yet, so it's always 1 year stale. But when you go there, you will see those positive trends like we've talked about tonight with they only put about 4 or 5 charts and graphs. They show cash balance. They show your cash flow. All those positive things, there you go. All those things that we have reported as a positive trend, it's right there. So that one's showing your enrollment. There you're showing your cash balances. Yep, it's in the positive. It's not in the negative. So good job, Cindy, for bringing that up. That's right. Very good. At this particular time, that concludes my report to for the Board of Finance, unless you have any other questions.
Any other questions, comments, discussion?
We are working, this is probably a less than a question, but we're working with the university to do a State of the Schools presentation in May. I would think that somebody just like what you've just done is
Right.
comprehensible form would be beneficial, showing that.
Right.
For instance, the long-term debt,
Yep.
the cash balances, and that cash balance of 33 million, does that include the rainy day fund?
Yes, it does. Yes.
From a negative 9 million to plus 33. Those are all things, and all being done with the notion that we've not been sitting static on the facilities. The summary of what's been done in the facilities would also be helpful.
Okay.
Along with the notion that the overall tax rate has remained flat. So if you could do something like that over the next 8 weeks or so.
We have several of those already created, and a few more that you just mentioned, we can make sure we get added to it.
I just think it's important for the community writ large to hear that the financial health is very sound.
Any other comment?
Madam President, nothing further.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the Board of Finance information as presented.
I'll move that.
Jim Williams,
Second.
Lowe. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign?
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
So then, any other business dealings here during the Board of Finance meeting? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the Board of Finance meeting.
So moved.
Second.
So move. You got that, Jim Williams, second, Jim Lowe. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Very well done.
You can have
Authority. You make a good judge.